Jay Inslee passed and signed his capital gains tax into law this week, moving the arc of the moral compass of the universe once again.
Be advised, we got zips in the wire down here.
Roger, last Bravo 6. Can't run it any closer. We'll have to try and back and snake and nape, but we're bingo fuel.
For the record, it's my call. Dump everything you've got left on my pod. I say again, expend all remaining in my perimeter.
It's a lovely fucking war. Bravo 6 out.
Roger, last Bravo 6. We copy. It's your call. Get them in their holes down there. Hang tough, Bravo 6. We are coming cock for tree tops.
Coming to you from behind the lines in Washington State, local and national talk, news, and opinions. This is the Behind the Line podcast. So they've been trying to get this capital gains tax passed for a number of years. And the biggest recent push, was in 2015. Where there were several proposals for capital gains. They wanted to call it an excise tax. The problem with this is the IRS and the United States Supreme Court classify capital gains as an income tax. And they also say that you cannot call capital gains an excise tax. Apparently they're not worried about the United States Supreme Court. And also in 2015, a Democrat rep was emailing somebody and mentioned that they hoped they would pass a capital gains and then it would be taken to court so that our liberal left-wing state Supreme Court would make a ruling to allow income tax in the state of Washington, because currently that is against our state constitution. Again, Democrats and our liberal court don't seem to care about the actual law or the actual will of the majority of the folks in the state. The Washington State Democratic Party actually lists a state income tax as a guiding principle in its party platform. Now, in this state, we have a sales tax instead of an income tax, and that's how the government gets the majority of its funding. And in other states, where they have income tax, they don't have sales tax, or they don't have other taxes, in place of that. But you can be guaranteed that this capital gains or income tax may be targeting rich people selling their stocks or investments right now. But once this thing gets in, we all know that the end goal is to make it a tax on everybody. We'll all be paying this income tax. And if you think that the state Democrats are actually going to roll back some of these other taxes instead, and just have this income tax and take away something else so that we're not getting completely hammered, which we already are, you're kidding yourself. Once these taxes go into effect, they stay in effect, and they only continue to go up. This is a proven track record in this state. I mean, just look at history. Look at all the taxes that have ever been imposed on us. They don't go away, and they just continue to go up and up and up. Road tolls, the gas tax, the sales tax, property tax, tax. There's never enough tax. There's never enough money. They're getting more money right now than they got at any other time. We have record amounts of income coming into the state, and they still want more. They still have to come up with 33 new taxes and fees for transportation alone. And now you've got this capital gains thing that's edged its way in, and there's already a lawsuit against it, so it's going to go to court. And odds are that our Supreme Court, though, is going to side with Democrats, because they've proven time and time again that they don't care about the actual law or the will of the people. Not that that really plays into deciding law, but we do have laws, and our law is pretty clear. There is no income tax in the state of Washington, and the Internal Revenue Service and United States Supreme Court have also made it clear that capital gains is not an excise tax, it is an income tax. So it'll be interesting to see it play out, but I don't have any faith in our Supreme Court. They've made a lot of questionable decisions in the recent past, and this will just be another one. Anyway, Inslee claims that he has once again raised the arc of the moral compass of the universe by passing this capital gains tax. This guy is one of the biggest narcissistic sociopaths I have ever seen. This guy is so full of himself and thinks he is the savior of at least Washington, but maybe the world. The guy is a kook. He's a nut. And you listen to him talk, you can just tell the guy is a nut. Anyway, this tax, which imposes a 7% tax on the income from long-term capital gains above $250,000, which isn't really that much, folks, starting next year. Supposedly, we'll see what happens, right? He's saying this is a day where Washington State starts to make progress on making our upside-down tax system fair and more equitable. And he went on to berate the state tax system, which is kind of funny because who's been in power in this state for the last 30 years at least? The Democrats. The Democrats have been in full control of everything for the last 30 years. So why isn't it this hasn't been addressed before now? Why haven't they done something to make things more fair and equitable at this point by now? It's just interesting that they're always hanging it out there that some entity has held down the people and blah, 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 but yet they're the ones that have been in control and in power. If they wanted to make these changes, they could have. Why are they doing it now? Because it's the social thing to do right now. This is the thing people are upset about. They are trying to get votes. So they are trying to make it sound like they are passing this bill to help black people and minorities and poor people. But yeah, that's not true. They're not passing it to do that. They're passing it to help themselves, to get money, and they're using black and poor people and minorities as a pawn to pass these things. They're laying the guilt trip on people and making them feel like we need to pass these bills because it's going to help them. And like I said, they've been in power for 30 years. If they wanted to help these communities of people, they could have done it by now. There's so much they could have done, but they've done nothing. It's just a Democratic talking point to get more money and keep themselves in power and have more control. And that is it. So some troubling things about this bill. There is a provision in the bill constituting an emergency clause which prohibits a voter referendum. Though the majority party denied it, was during floor debates over bill amendments regarding the bill language in question. The clause states the tax is necessary for the support of the state government and its existing public institutions. Yet it was not found where emergency clauses are typically located in bills. Emergency clauses also state that the bill takes effect immediately, while it actually doesn't take effect until 2022. Interesting that they would not want people to be allowed to vote on this. The people should be allowed to vote on any tax that comes into this state. The people should have a say-so in it. The government should not be allowed to put any taxes on us without a say of the people. Anyway, as a result of this, voters will have to wait until next year for the initiative to repeal the law. However, by then, proponents of the tax may have already achieved a more important victory, the state Supreme Court overturning 8 decades of rulings declaring income to be property under the state constitution's definition. And this is a problem because in Washington, property must be taxed uniformly according to its class, which prohibits a progressive income tax. Which means you're not just going to be able to tax the rich people, you're going to have to tax everybody. So like I said, this is a tax to get everyone. The capital gains revenue won't lower any existing state taxes, such as the sales tax, property tax, like I mentioned, and instead is dedicated to new basic education programs. Is that really helping communities of color and low-income communities? I mean, yes, you need an education, but is that really the help they need right now to get back on their feet? Anyway, detractors noted that it is one of the most volatile taxes and caused states like California to separate it entirely from their budgeting process. And this is also something I've looked into. States where they have an income tax, every single state has said that it's extremely volatile. They can't count on any certain amounts of money. The sales tax is a much better way to bring in taxes to the state coffers. It's more reliable, and they have a better idea of what they're going to have to work with. But of course, they don't want to eliminate any other taxes. They just want to add this to the books. Anyway, folks, this is just more insanity from our government. They just want to take as much as they can from us and really do nothing to help us or cut us a break. We're coming out of this pandemic. They're already, getting money, more money than they've ever had. Everything is pre-pandemic levels, and yet they still need more. For what? For what? They just, literally sit up there in that white building and come up with tax after tax after tax and law after law. That's all they do. And it's helping no one. And an income tax on everyone is going to hurt poor communities and people of color, and it's just going to hold them back even more. And it's coming. Maybe not next year, but if this thing holds and it gets through the Supreme Court, it's coming on everybody. And how is that going to be fair and equitable and socially just to those communities, to slap them with another tax and take even more of the money that they're making at some low-income job? You got to ask yourself why they don't want you to have a say in these things, why they pass these things knowing that people don't want it. They pass these things at weird times of the night. They do whatever they can to try to get these things through and just continue to take more and more from all of us. Enough is enough. Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the Behind the Line podcast. I hope you will subscribe to the channel so you can get regular updates. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, I hope you will also like it, share it, and subscribe on YouTube as well. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Anchor, Spreaker. We're on various other podcast platforms. And you can find me on LinkedIn under John Washington. Again, thank you for listening. We appreciate your support.